Hi, I'm Ray and this is TinyTableGames. Thanks for clicking on the video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the channel grow. And have you lately felt like you've been living in a post-apocalyptic society? Well, if so, then Life in Reterra is the game for you. I picked it up recently at Target. It was on discount. Can't imagine why, but gonna give it a try. The whole theme of the game is building a nice, cozy society after everything falls apart. So, that said, let's get to it. So normally I don't bother with the unboxing portion of it, but I just wanted to point something out about this game. Other than a noisy box lid, you don't really expect much from a game when you pay hardly anything for it at a retail store, but this is how the game comes packaged once you unpunch everything. They've got all these little bins that are numbered, although it's hard to tell. This is number 2, that's number 1. But look at that. Everything stores so neatly. I don't think I've ever seen a game store stuff so neatly as packaged for commercial use without having to ad hoc some stuff later. In any case, I just thought that's super impressive, wanted to mention it, and let's get on to it. So some interesting things about the game is, first, you've got these land tiles that you'll be using. That kind of defines everybody's squares, and on each turn you'll draw a land tile and place it. When you get to 16, a 4x4 grid, the game is over. The items in the cards and tokens and whatnot are divided up into these 3 different packs, because they advise play pack 1 first, then play pack 2, then play pack 3, and then once you're more familiar with everything, you can mix them up and play whichever version you like. And they even have recommended build sets depending on what sort of game you want out of it. So we'll explain what the deal with this board is here in a moment, but as you can see, Life in Reterra, on your turn, you place 1 land tile, and it's complete when you got a 4x4 grid. If that land tile has a gear, you may place 1 building or 1 inhabitant, then use building powers if you can, then refill the land tile row if needed. And that's pretty much the game. You go do that back and forth per turn, per person, until somebody finishes out their grid. The goal, of course, is to win with the most points. So if you get 7 terrain segments that are the same, you get 3 points, and they're connected to each other. Energy sources, if you have energy sources surrounded by land tiles, that's 8 points. That'll make more sense in a minute. Relics are 1 point. Inhabitants are 1 point each. Buildings depend on the building, and junk is -1 point per junk token you get. Whoever has the highest total at the end of the game wins. So the first part of setting up is laying out the 5 building structures that'll be available during the game, and just those 5. Notice the building cards are 2-sided, so they have different points and different powers on each side. And there's a total of, 15 different cards, so you can get quite iterative in how things play. So a lot more variety than it might seem, but only 5 buildings to pick from through the whole game. And the tiles that they're in lay out here, so you can see how many of those are going to be. Notice it's qualified. There's less tiles available depending on how many players you have. This is the 2-player row, 3-player row, and 4-player row. So I'll just be playing 2-player, so it will just be filling out this small section, and the rest of those out of this tray we simply won't use and just put them back in the box. So here's the setup. With the 5 cards out, the tokens that we'll be using to build structures, there's only 14, 15 of them total for a 2-player game. So really not a whole lot to go off of, considering you don't have to buy them. You can just pick one on your turn. Each player starts with this, which is their starting tile, which has 1 of each of the 4 surfaces, water, dirt, grass, and asphalt. Each player also gets dealt 3 secret tiles that they can see, but the other players cannot, which they can use to put down if they need to, rather than draw a tile. The only other thing is there's a starting lineup of tiles. Okay, and these are the 5 land tiles you can pick from on your turn, unless you want to play one of the tiles that are secretly in your hand. For player 1, which is over here, player 1 secretly has these 3 tiles. Notice gears are where you have to play a gear tile to build, and whatever you build has to be fully on gears. You can't stray off of gears. That counts as an artifact. That's just an extra point. And player 2 over here, lots of asphalt and books, a couple gears. Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll keep that in mind. These are their starting tiles, like I said, to build out the grids. One thing of note, these are the power tiles, and to be fully surrounded, it just has to be on 4 sides, not diagonally. So just orthogonal counts as surrounded in this game. It's also worth noting that unlike some games, the land types do not have to line up from tile to tile. It's just that you score bonus points if you have 7 or more that are contiguous. So player 1, the first thing they can do is place a land tile. So got to pick one, and I guess we'll go for a power source because fully surrounded energy source gets you 8 points at the end of the game. So that seems like a good deal. Then we'll just stick it right, well, we'll put it on this side since it's water. And don't place a building or an inhabitant because no gears, no building powers to speak of. Refill the land tile. And now it's over to the other person. Let's see. There's no 2-gear tiles, but we'll take this sand tile and put it right here. But I think we will put an inhabitant down, which are these cute little guys right here. And we'll put him, you have to put him on a gear space also. So 1 inhabitant, why would we do that? Because each inhabitant is worth a point at the end of the game. Fill up the tile. And now it's back to player 1, who needs to get going on some building now. So he's going to use one of his secret tiles in order to, let's see, can I make that work? Yes. We're going to make sure we continue to work on surrounding that energy source, and it puts down 2 gears. And so, let's see. There's space to do either a school or a garden because there's 2 gears next to each other. The garden is worth 3 points if placed on terrain segment of exactly 7 contiguous spaces. Well, that's definitely not that. Worth 2 additional points if you have more visible relics than both of your neighbors. Well, since it's just a 2-player game, so just gotta have more relics than the other guy. I guess that's worth trying, plus it's worth 2 points in itself. So, whoops. So we will take one of the schools and place it there. So it doesn't trigger any additional abilities on the turn you play it regardless, but even though that doesn't have one. So use your building's powers, don't have any. Refill the land tile, don't have to. Now it's back to the first player. Or excuse me, player 2. Let's see, player 2 would really like to build up his sand section, so he's going to grab that one right here. And then he's going to take the garden, because that's worth 3 points if placed on terrain of exactly 7 contiguous spaces, and he's up to 5 right now. And the building itself is worth 2 points, as is the school. It doesn't trigger any abilities. Refill the tiles. And that's the end of his turn. Back to player 1. As you can see, this game moves right along. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1 more water segment, and we'll have a 7 points. And you'd say, well, you get no extra points for it being larger than 7. 3 points for terrain segment of 7 plus spaces. So once you've got one of those, you can quit thinking about it, basically. So we will do this. And drop a person next to the school. That seems like a reasonable thing to do. And refill the tile and over to the other guy. Player 2, what you up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he needs exactly 2 more and no more than 2 more. Since for the garden to work, it's got to be exactly 7. So let's just avoid that altogether at the moment and build out over here. And we will put down a school just in case. Or should we hold out for a farm? Well, that's tempting. Maybe we'll hold out for the moment and go for one of the larger shapes. Refill. That's the end of the turn. Back to player 1. So I think we're going to grab this double sand relic, or double relic sand, and put it around his power supply. Doesn't do anything else for him, but that helps. Over to player 2, who's trying to make an elbow work. You can do it with that. He doesn't need to, though. You can just draw this one. And by careful placement, we avoid tying too much sand in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we only need 2 to make it work. So if we do this, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's exactly 7, which means that the garden, ironically, in the weeds, or in the desert there, will get 3 additional points, so that's what we want. And we will drop another survivor out there and refill. Back to player 1, who needs to get going on something. Plus, those count as all water, so he at least will pick up the contiguous water. Ooh, that's a good one. But we can continue to build up the greenery here. So I think we will take the infirmary and place it right here. So starting next turn, not this turn, we'll drop an inhabitant wherever there's a building. So basically you keep picking up a point every turn, which is pretty cool. And refill. Now player 1 seems to be more interested in building some sort of spa than actually anything else, and we got a few artifacts, more than our opponent so far, so our school's still worthwhile, but we really got to get some building done. And this one is the way to do it, because it's a double right there. We'll drop it right here. So we're taking the other infirmary. The farm gives your opponent a negative point, but only that's when you build a building. So the infirmary is much more reliable from that regard. Okay, and restock. We'll take it from this pile. 1, 2, 3. Should probably worry about picking up a power supply just for the extra 7 points that gives them, or 8 points, excuse me. Gonna have to get somebody else built out there on that grassy area to keep that going, but for now, restock and back to player 1. Well, this one seems promising. So we're gonna put it here like that. That starts us down that trail. We will drop another survivor / human to wander around in the desert once again. Sorry about that, buddy. Restock. So we get to place yet another inhabitant. Might be better off doing this, just to mess with our opponent over there. But in the meantime, if I don't do this, we can't close it off. So that's got to be the play. So we'll drop this one right here. Oh, actually, not use the secret one. We'll take this one. That's even better. I guess we'll just throw it down just in case. And then this triggers another person. And we restock this. And it's over to player 1. I guess he could do this. Sorry, you can't even see that. There. If I put this like here, then maybe I can get lucky, put another one here, and then use all 4 gears to put that square up. So I think that's what, plus it helps encapsulate the power supplies. So I think that's the play. Not going to build a building there. We'll drop a human on this gear, and then the the infirmary trigger, so another person shows up here. We restock, and that's the end of turn. Back to player 2. So we're going to grab this one and put it here to close off our power supply. We'll drop a human on it. It'll trigger also the infirmary for the third guy. Unfortunately, it's not going to be able to drop anybody else next time because it has to be on the continuous land structure, that grass. And I'm nowhere close to doing that. Restock. Ooh, double compasses. And back to player 1. This board's looking a little messy over here. Okay. Is there a... Yep. Let's see, in the rules for the public square, 1 point per space of your largest segment of continuous terrain. Well, so far that's 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, so that's huge. So we're going to take this one and drop it in here and put in the public square, which, what is that, half a cruise ship they're retrofitted? Kind of appropriate, I guess. It's red, so it must be virgin. Anyway, so that's done. There's no more squares to, well, you can't put anybody else down because you built the building, but the infirmary does trigger to fill that out. And it's got nowhere to go because it's straddling terrain. Oh, wow. Okay, back to player 2. Okay, well, this isn't terribly helpful in one sense. It does boost his chances of getting the 2 extra points for the school, plus those counts as 2 points, those little phones or iPads or whatever at the end of the game. Count as an additional point each for being relics on your terrain. So we'll do that. And I guess drop another person right here. That's full, there's nowhere else to build, so that's the end of his turn. Restock. He's gonna grab these double compasses and put it right here to enclose this last power plant and give himself a boost on the relics. Not that that's that big a deal, but still. What if we do this? Every time you build a building, place junk, plus it's 4 extra points, so we'll do that. And it's attached to this green space that this one's on. And so let's see, how's that exactly read? 1 inhabitant on this building or any other building on the same segment of continuous terrain. So it's got a foot in the continuous terrain, so we'll say that counts. Because this game doesn't seem like it'd be that nitpicky about it. Let's see, so built a building, the infirmary triggers, so you put somebody out there. And that's the end of his turn. Restock the tile. That's a good one. So maybe we'll do that. We'll take this one here and throw a person out on this gear because we can't build out there anyway. So we'll pick this up first. Like that. Actually like this, I think. Otherwise that won't work for doing an L. And the infirmary triggers. And that's the end of his turn. Reload. I think we'll try and build another school right here. The other thing that does is allows the infirmary to continue. So build a school, infirmary, put somebody in the school. That's nice. 1, 1, 1. Oh yeah, we'll definitely use this one, as it also has a artifact on it. And build our farm. Oh, which actually, shouldn't that have triggered? No, he doesn't have one. Build the farm right there, which is now going to double trigger 2 junk tokens on a relic. Place a junk token on a relic in one of your neighbor's areas. So that'll be 2 junk tokens because we have 2 farms. Well, that farm just got built, so we can only trigger one of them this turn. So junk covers the relic and there's no way to get rid of it. Probably worth this. Stock the draw pile. Oh boy, that's not helpful for him. Let's see. But in any case, we're going to throw his... actually, we shouldn't throw it there. We'll take it from here to deny it from the other guy and fill out this bottom corner. So he's going to grab this one, put it over here to keep up the artifact chain over here. Then that'll, since he didn't build a building, he's going to drop another citizen on that little cog. Let's see, the infirmary can't put anybody else out because it's all full up now. So that's the end of his turn. And back to player 2. Build a building, which is going to trigger the 2 farms and put 2 more junk tokens on the opponent's relics. So these 2 are gone. There's nothing else he can do. Lucky break for player 1. He's definitely going to use that on his last turn to just toss that in. And over to player 2, restock for the last time. Oh, that is just funny. Let's see, but he will use his secret one just because. And there we go, into scoring. Okay, so on to scoring. First, terrain segment of 7+ spaces. Energy sources only if surrounded by other land tiles. Relics, icons and tokens. Inhabitants, 1 point each. Buildings, see building cards. Junk, -1 for each point of junk. That's -3 for player 1. Which brings us to the total. And player 1 is the victor, 61 to 55. Pretty close game. So there you have Life in Reterra. I actually think that's pretty cool. It's pretty short, 16 plays each per person, so that definitely doesn't get too crazed or drag on too long. You can think about your turn while your opponent's going, certainly. There's very limited resources, so you have to plan ahead a little bit. Without getting too crazy, it can be mean, it can be very not mean, and very solid multiplayer solitaire, as is pointed out in the rulebook, depending on which card configuration you use. So there's a lot of options, a lot of variation. I'm really surprised. I like this game a lot more than I thought I was going to. That's a winner for me. I'm keeping that one for sure. In any case, I'm Ray. This is TinyTableGames. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time.